And good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. And I'm here with Paul
Hi, everybody.
from Australia. He's on our Japan tour. And I know Paul, what, 19 years, 18
Yeah,
years?
something like that. Yeah.
So, yeah, we've been good since friends since then. And he lives in Melbourne. And Maria joined us, I see, with the live video.
Hey,
Hey,
Maria.
Maria. She's in a room next door or somewhere else. I don't know where she is. But anyway, Paul, not necessarily maybe today about the Japan trip, but I mean, you've been practicing for a long time.
Yeah.
And what do you think is really important about practicing the system of Reiki, or in generally practicing at all?
Well, I think personally it's about just your own personal development and finding your true self and the journey that takes you on in your own life. I've been practicing for a long time, and it's the, for me it really it's a lifelong practice,
Yeah,
and it's not really a quick magic pill.
indeed,
And you have to be
indeed,
willing
yeah,
to face your stuff and work through it slowly, and it takes time and dedication. Um, but
yeah.
but the results are there, and they align with the precepts. And yeah, for me, it's just about chipping away at it and practicing diligently as often as you can on a daily basis.
Yeah. So if I would ask you, I mean, I know you, Paul, for a long
Mm.
time, and I know you're very diligent in practicing,
Mm.
and we do a lot of teachings together. We when I lived in Australia, Paul would come for 3 days or 4 days or 5 days, and we would chant for 8 hours the precepts. We did 45 minutes chanting the precepts, have a 15-minute break, and then we would chant another 45 minutes. So we'll do 3 in the morning, 45-minute sessions, 3 in the afternoon, and 2 at night. And then we would do that for 3 days or for 5 days, and really getting into the direct experience of
Mm.
it. And so those sessions were always really good.
Yeah, intense.
Yeah,
But exciting at the same time. You go much deeper into the practice, and you have experiences within yourself and afterwards. Actually, it's the time afterwards. It's like steeping tea. The longer you sit in that space, the more of a direct experience you have with it, and a better understanding of really where that energy comes from a
yeah,
primordial perspective,
yeah.
and how you relate to that energy on a deeply personal level as well. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you relate to it on a deeply
Mm.
personal level? And how then do you take it with you in your daily life? I
Mm.
think this is the most important element, taking it in every element of your life. As you know, Paul, I know you for a long time now, and
Mm.
life doesn't always throw us nice curves. So, how do we deal with that? And
Mm.
this is, I think, why these also really intense practice sessions are also sometimes really important.
Mm.
We often don't do it, but if I think about Mikasui sitting on his mountaintop, I mean, he wasn't twiddling his thumbs. He was really practicing some serious chanting. And if
Mm.
we don't have to go on a mountaintop, we could do this at home. And yeah, so I'm always really looking back to these sessions we had, Paul, where we really go into it. And I remember this one session we had been chanting for, I think, 2 or 3 days, and on the third day in the evening session, we were just so high on this energy. We were rolling on the floor from laughter, and my son comes in the room and goes, "What are you guys doing?" And we're like, "I think we're high on drunk on energy." It was just, it doesn't always happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes you cry and you really feel overwhelmed by it. But this time we were like drunk on these
I
energies.
think
Yeah.
that's true. Like you go a lot deeper into that compassion space, into that joy space,
Yeah.
and when you, especially with certain practices, they can be very purifying, and you probably don't realize how much you're carrying, or how much stuff you really have within you that you need to really release and let go of, and that can come out in strange and wonderful ways.
Yeah.
And for me, the real take home was that on the surface, you can think that I feel great, I'm fine, and life is good. But really, with these intense practices, stuff comes up that you think, oh, I thought I dealt with that 20 years ago, and
Yeah.
but it's all there and it's all in layers, and the more intense practices just really bring that up, and because it can just sit there really subtly in the background, and it can still affect your life, and you don't realize that maybe it's a little bit of fear with something, or a discomfort, or a trigger that you might not even know exists.
Absolutely. I see it a lot. People say, oh, I'm not angry, I'm not worried, and then little push there and they get angry and worried, and I go, what are you talking about? I still get angry and worried. So it's a continuous practice.
Absolutely.
And as you say, also these deeper layers, like when I drop some wine on my top and I clean it, I think it's clean, but when I take a torch and I really investigate, I see traces of this wine still in my top. So also when we tap more into this inner bright light, we come to the more subtle layers of our fear and worry and anxiety and attachment, what all needs to be purified, if we really want to embody the precepts. And I think this is why these really dedicated practices, Paul, what I've been doing, together or by ourselves, are really just so powerful.
Yeah,
so
amazingly so.
Yeah.
Surprisingly so.
Yeah.
When I first learnt Reiki, it was sort of more of in a Western style, and then as I progressed with my practice and other practices came through that were related, and you sort of start to see how powerful these practices really are, and how smart Miko Usui was to simplify a lot of very deeply esoteric practices that not a lot of people would have access to in the West, into a very simple but powerful process. And through the practice, going very deep through a dedicated practice, it's amazing how far you can go and how deep you can go within your own personal journey. And I think a lot of that you can only really discover through a deep, dedicated practice.
I mean, this is it, a deep, dedicated practice, and not being too much in your head. I mean, I see so many people, they're trying to intellectualize it, doing a lot of research. It's great, don't get me wrong, really, but then we become so in our head and we forget that actually it needs to be in our body, through this direct experience. Again, Miko Usui wasn't twiddling his thumb on Mount Karama. He was doing some serious meditation practices to really reawaken this Reiki inside of him, this great bright light, and all the pointers are there, as you say, within the system of Reiki, if we look correctly. But then, as you also say, we have to make that dedication to sit down and practice and apply it, and that is that for me is really the key. And
absolutely, because you can get disenfranchised with the practice, because there can be moments where you might feel like nothing's happening, and you can lose faith, or you can just get bored, or whatever, and you have to have the commitment to the practice to just keep going, and then who knows, it could be months or years or weeks, and then all of a sudden you might feel different, or that something really shifts, and you might after that see the world differently and realize that it had such a profound impact. And you just don't really know what's bubbling underneath. We sort of know what's going on in our surface conscious mind, but we don't realize how many attachments or expectations we really carry around, and how much that really impacts our energy in our body and our minds.
Well, and it's really easy to check. Do we still get angry? Do we still get worried? All of these kind of elements are so important, because they affect yourself, and where do we have to go? Where do we store all of that? Inside the anger and worry we store inside of our body. So, through those practices that, we were saying, where we meditate for maybe 8 sessions of 45 minutes a day, chanting the precepts, etc., to really embody it and really go into the nitty-gritty of your attachments, of your worries, of your fear, so that we can be that great bright light in our daily life. As you say, it's a lifelong practice. We've probably got to go. We have to take the super fast train today. We're going to Atami. It's a seaside resort, and Hayashi used to live there, so that'll be quite exciting. I'm really looking forward to that. We are having a great journey. We just started actually on it yesterday. Walking in Tokyo with another 5 billion people. But yeah, maybe later, Paul, on another day, we can talk about your project, because I really like your project. You're not just doing treatments. You're really also focusing on Reiki as a spiritual blessing. And I think this is also a wonderful thing. And so stay tuned, and we'll talk to Paul later. Thank you, Paul.
Cool. See you guys.
Bye.